Yo, what's going on, Nashville Fit Fam? We are back with my girl. Who are you today?
Hello.
Right.
You put me on the spot. I didn't think about it that time.
Hello. With my girl, Mrs. Dotfire over here.
Yes.
And I am D. Gerell Webb. I don't want you guys to adjust your cameras. You are seeing double. I have my mini-me here today, also known as Nathaniel Edelman. Do you want to be Nathaniel today or you want to be Nate?
We'll go with Nate.
Okay, we'll be Nate. We'll be Nate today. So I want you guys to know up front, we're going to talk about some fitness, but the majority of this podcast will not be about fitness.
I've also been warned, so.
Yes, I've already told Sav, you're going to have to jump in. You have to get in where you fit in. So it'll be a lot of, me and Nate probably going back and forth, but only because Nate has an amazing story that I feel like he doesn't share enough. And we're going to jump into that as well. But first, we have to get into the basket of debate. Today's podcast is sponsored by Nutrishop. Yeah, it is. So we're gonna go.
Terry, if I write a jingle for basket of debate,
we need to. Yeah, you should.
The basket of debate.
Yeah. Get out the guitar.
Fun fact about me:
we're not there yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. When I went to Berkeley, I took a jingle writing class.
I believe you.
It was an actual college credit to learn how to write. It was actually so fun. It was a really fun class.
Have you written anything we've heard of?
No,
I'm talking like radio jingles, exactly like the.
I feel like you could have hit it big with this.
Looky, 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 here comes Cookie.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like there's a class, there's a whole art to writing those.
Yeah.
And it goes a lot deeper than you think, but we'll get into that another time.
So, Nate, real quick, the basket of debate is icebreaker.
Yeah.
It's a way to start our conversation, the way we start our podcast.
Okay.
And what it is going to be, it may be a random fact. It may be just something that we'll discuss. It may be a natty or not. Just random conversation starter.
Sounds
all right?
Yeah.
You're smiling, so you gotta go first because you're.
I'm actually disgusted. If you're not watching right now, I'm making a disgusted face because I got a debate. I got a pickle with this one. Bone to pick, whatever I was trying to say there. You should always taste food first before adding salt or pepper, and I literally think those are the only two things that you should add before. Because otherwise,
how do you know that it needs it before?
Well, I mean, like, if you're not planning on putting it on it, then, like,
but what
just
if I
serve
taste
it
it,
up.
then I need it? But what if they season it enough and then you
I
add
feel
salt
like
and pepper and it's
put,
too much?
like, a normal amount. Because when I'm cooking, I'll put salt and pepper on it first. Yeah. And then if it needs more salt, it usually doesn't need more pepper. But if it needs more salt, I'll put more salt on it. But I like to know that I'm putting the proper amount on first. And I already know before I put it on there, it's going to taste not good.
That's insulting to the chef.
Why? I'm the chef.
Oh. Well, you put... What do you mean then?
Well, okay, maybe we're thinking of this differently.
Okay, I'm thinking like you go out to eat.
Oh, we are thinking of this differently.
Okay, you were thinking like at home cooking?
Yeah, I'm thinking like you should always taste the food first before adding salt or pepper. Like, yeah, like if I'm out to eat and trying something, like I'm going to like eat it as is. And then if I decide I want more salt and pepper, then I'll put it on there. Yeah, I was thinking of it totally differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I feel like I agree with Gerell.
Yeah.
Now, if you see me eating at your house and I start putting salt and pepper on the food,
then it is what it is.
I probably don't like your food.
If you're, but like you get what I was saying before, though, right? Like if you're cooking,
seasoning,
why would you be like, oh, let me just taste my like dish before I've seasoned it
before you cook it?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But seasoning is part of cooking.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's why I was disgusted with that answer. Never mind.
Salt and pepper, yes, but
I'm outnumbered.
It's probably going to be one of the blackest things I say on this podcast. Hot sauce.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to put hot sauce on before.
Yeah, I probably will too.
Yeah, like if it's something that I'm going like that I know I want hot sauce, like chicken.
I was about to say, does it depend on the food, or are you just bringing the hot sauce to every party here?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna bring it to a party.
I actually do have some in my backpack.
Or dinner, yeah. Like I don't bring my own, Nate. Okay. Come on now, don't be that guy.
I do.
You're not gonna dig in Shantavia's purse.
No, hey, man, him and hot sauce over there. That would be horrible. Oh man, I would be so ashamed.
Yeah.
I would be ashamed of myself. If
She
that.
probably would be too.
She was like, "Why did you put hot sauce in my purse?" Like, babe, I knew we were coming. Told you Nate can't cook. All right. Okay, I'm kind of feeling this one. It's better to be a morning person than a night person.
I agree with that one.
Person.
I agree. All the way around.
I think being a night person is like a recipe for procrastinating or like losing like very precious hours of recovery.
Okay. They usually marry each other though. My wife is a night person. She's a night owl. She'll stay up all night. Yeah. And by like 9, I'm like, babe, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to sleep. Like my body's shutting down.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're waking up to go to work and she's just going to bed.
She's like, she's getting comfortable. That's why
I know. My brain after even 6 p.m. is like, no, we don't want any more of this. And I'm sure if I shifted that, I could change that. But I used to be more of a night person, like in high school, because I was in high school. I was like, like I had energy I didn't know what to do with. And I like, was trying to make friends and have a reputation. And now I don't need none of that. So like, but I really like being up in the morning because I feel like, especially when I start my day and like no one has talked to me yet and I haven't like, I'm kind of waking up before the rest of the world because I wake up super early and I like that.
Yeah.
It takes some adjusting, but
It does. Yeah. I think some of it goes with our industry. Being in the fitness industry, coaching, training, anything like that. Generally, we are up early in the morning. I'm more productive early in the morning. I think better. I shifted once upon a time in the story that we'll get into that the only time that I could ever get any peace and quiet was very, very early.
I knew your answer. Yeah.
So I had to figure out a time where I could get silence and peace to myself. So that just kind of carried over into my everyday life.
I have heard tidbits of this story. Right, I'm excited to dive into this.
For sure.
Let's see. We got in a cheeseburger, the cheese goes on top of the patty, not underneath. Let's see.
If I have 2, how many patties do I have?
Ooh.
Good question.
Well, if it's a double,
it goes right smack dab in the middle.
I'm going in the middle and on top.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Sandwich your meat with the cheese.
But never underneath.
No, why would you put it underneath?
I don't, No, that's dumb.
I might run from that person.
Melt.
We all
it's not gonna melt.
If somebody's
check the same box.
If somebody's grilling my burger on the grill,
cheese on the bottom, and put the burger on top.
And they slap the cheese on the
Terry does on the bottom. Yeah.
No, you gotta have it like
Not eating this.
melt slowly on the top of it so that it wraps around the meat. Yeah. I don't need it sinking into my bun.
There you go. Come on now. All right, that's enough of we've done the corporate thing. You guys got the sponsors out of the way. Now let's get into the actual shout out to Nutrishop again. Let's get into this podcast. So I'm gonna tell you a story.
I'm really excited about this story.
I'm gonna tell you a story. So I've been at Next Level Fitness.
I think crisscross applesauce.
I think 3 years now. I think for 3 years now. So Nate and I work together at Next Level Fitness. And when I first got to Next Level, I started doing I was doing my first competition.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
My very first one.
Your first or your only?
First and only, yeah. First and only,
okay.
yeah.
It's done one and done. I've been there, done that.
Yeah, it really was. It wasn't my world. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
One powerlifting meet.
But so I was doing a lot of cardio. So I was doing my cardio, and so Nate walks over to me and he's like, "Hey." Now me and Nate, like I've been there for a couple months at this time. So like when I enter a new space, like I talk to people, but like we never like talk like on a deeper level. It's just like, hey, what's up? Whatever, nice to we work together type stuff, So we had never talked before. And now I want you guys to look into the camera right now. Just take a good look at Nate. All right. Just I want you to look at Nate, and whatever impression of Nate that you have is probably wrong. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Okay. So I'm doing my cardio, head down, I got my headphones on. I guess he knows I'm gonna be there for a while. He walks over, he's like, hey man. I'm like, what's up? He's like, do you know my story? And I was like, what are you talking about?
We just randomly,
this literally how the conversation went. I was
like mid-lift.
I was like, nah, bro. It's just like, what's your story? Like, kind of like.
What was your first impression of him asking you that?
I was like, why is he asking me?
Like, who is this guy?
I'm probably 20 minutes into my car. You know when you're working out and somebody starts talking to you.
I hate when that
so you're already like, bro, what are you talking about?
I'm just trying to.
So I'm on the stairs. And I'm looking down like on him from the stairs. He's like, do you know my story? And I was like, nah. Like, what's your story, bro? And so he goes in and is telling me stories. Like, man, I went to prison for 10 years. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what's up. So automatically I'm thinking, oh, he did like some white collar stuff, something stupid, right?
Like, what would you assume?
That's what I assume. Like, oh,
give me
did you, bro? Like, okay, like
selling some weed.
What, yeah, what did you like?
What can you go to prison for 10 years that is white collar? Like,
it depends on how much white collar you were doing.
Like, I don't know enough about prison.
How deep into it you were.
I'm glad I don't know.
So I was like,
it's probably good.
I was like, okay, bro, that's what's up. He was like, yeah, 10 years I did Fed time. I was like, oh, you did Fed time. So when he said Fed time, I automatically assumed, yeah, it's definitely some white collar stuff. And so we're talking. So I'm like, for what? He was like, he didn't come out. He's like, I was selling some stuff. He's like selling drugs or whatever. And I was like, this dude's lying to me, bro. Like. So I'm on the stage like literally like, man, he's freaking lying, bro. It's like, and so my first thought was like, oh, he thinks he's gonna connect with me because all black people sell drugs.
Oh
right?
My goodness.
And so
that would have been crazy.
I was like, oh, for real? So we started talking
to make friends.
So we started talking, right? And we get into some lingo stuff. We're talking. I was like, oh, you really were selling drugs? So he was like, yeah, man, I did 10 years. He told me about he went on this high-speed chase through Nashville. FBI got him. We're going to get into all of that story, right?
What?
Going to get into all that story. Yeah. And so literally since then, me and Nate have been like locked in, right? We've been besties since then.
You've done everything I want to do on my bucket list.
Right? I'm just
kidding. I'm totally kidding.
High-speed
chase.
Right? Clearly he wasn't driving fast enough. Right? Here's the question I have for you, Sav. Okay, because this is the most impressive part of this story. That night, Nate gets caught. Nate can go home that night.
From prison?
He gets to go home that night.
Okay. From being arrested.
He wasn't in prison yet, but he gets caught. High-speed chase, gets arrested, goes.
Don't tell me this is like
the FBI takes
someone else was involved and
someone else was involved.
No.
They got caught too. They were together when they got caught. Him and his co-defendant were together.
Okay.
You can go home tonight. All you have to do is tell me where you're getting this from. Tell me who you're getting this from. Got caught with a key in the trunk?
Yeah.
A kilo in the trunk and some other stuff. Kilo of cocaine. Yep, in the trunk and some other stuff.
I watch movies.
So to make sure. So they got him. Like he got caught with it on him, right? And they're like, yo, you can go home tonight. Just sign this. You go home, be on, probation for a little bit. Go be with your family, man. Live your life. Nate says, what'd you say? No, I'm not going to do that.
Not in so many words.
Not going to do that, bro.
No, I'm good.
I'm good. Not going to do that. Hey.
You say you did not give up the source.
20 years, or you can tell us that Terry's the one selling you these drugs. 20 years of your life, or what's the decision you're going to make?
Are you asking me the question as if hypothetically Terry was the one who was selling drugs?
Terry, let's say Terry, because you're right there. Terry's the one selling you the drugs, but you don't know, but they don't know that it's Terry. But you know,
I would absolutely not there's got to be a catch to this story. You were covering for somebody because they had some kind of family or had cancer that they were battling, and if they go to jail, they're gonna die. So I have to take the fall for them. Absolutely not.
None of that.
I would not go to prison.
Get caught together.
Okay.
I say, forget it. His name is Terry. I'm gonna show you where his house is.
Yeah.
I'll take you over there. Right. So I go home.
So in this story,
Nate decided not gonna tell.
So out of the two of you who got caught, one of you was like, yep, I'm going to give you everything you need to know, and you didn't. Why?
I did not.
Tell us that story, Nate. Let's go. I've done
I have to know why.
Let's go with the story.
And then we have to circle back to how you reacted to hearing this the first time in the gym that day.
That is the reason why we locked in. I was like, yo, if you're willing to do 10 years, because that's the rule. You don't snitch. No matter what, you don't snitch. You know the game that you're playing. You know what's involved. It's like playing football against concussions. You're gonna get a concussion.
Yeah.
At some point, you're gonna get caught. No, everybody who's ever sold drugs has gotten caught at some point, right? Yeah. You're gonna get caught. It's what you do once you get caught.
Man, I'm glad you're telling me this just in case I ever get into selling drugs, because that's not my first instinct.
I like to assume that I'm a stand-up guy until I heard this story, and I was like, bro, I would have Listen, I would took him to the house. Like, hey, he's over here 20 years?
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing 20 years.
I will snitch all day.
Nobody, yeah. And then move to another state. You guys never see me again. Hey, Terry, I wish you the best, man. But I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Nate, please fill us in the story. I told a little bit of it, but I want you to tell your own story, man.
Yeah, so come that night, and I think part of the process of my thinking was that I knew what I was getting into when I first got into it years before. So it was a loyalty thing, loyalty to a fault type of thing. It was also, and these are all things that had been going through my head for, I couldn't tell you how long, was that I hated what I was doing. I knew what I was doing was wrong. I knew it was going to end up real bad at some point. The question is, what type of bad was it going to end up? Was I going to get killed? Was I going to? I would sit here and love to say that I wasn't doing any of the drugs that I was selling, but I was. Was I going to overdose at some point? You know, how was it going to end?
Choose your bad.
Yeah, and like I said, I'd hated what I'd done for years. Mm-hmm. I just didn't. I wasn't strong enough to get away from it. Like there was parts of it that I loved. Mm-hmm. There was parts of it that were fun, and then there was also the other side of it. So, you know, on some kind of level, I knew that was as hard as that was going to be, and as harsh as the punishment as that was going to be. That was my way out. That was the only way that I knew how to get out, probably with my life. So
wow.
And I remember you telling the part, because I don't want to skip over this either. Like you made sure you led when you told me the story. Like I didn't have to sell drugs. That's not the world that I come from.
No.
Like I chose to.
Yeah. Like
to
how did you get into it?
So there I was at the store. No, I'm just like, so how does one get into selling drugs?
Yeah, it was I was 15 years old.
Wow.
When I kind of got into it. And
well, you were impressionable then.
Very.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, at that age, anything can impress on you at that age. And I started smoking weed, and it was, you know, I knew guys that had it, and then a lot of my friends that I hung out with smoked weed. So I got this grand idea I was like, well, you know, if I have enough weed for all my friends, then I can sell to my friends, and I can smoke weed for free. So that's kind of how it started, and then it just kind of ballooned from there. I was born and raised here in Nashville and Antioch. Went to large schools, had large groups of friends.
When did you graduate from high school?
That would have been 1999.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, wow. Yeah. So it was okay.
I'm old. So.
When did you first go to prison? Like when did you get caught?
So I got arrested 2 months after my 21st birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So, and it just kind of ballooned from there, right? I started with weed and selling to my friends, and I found out I could make some good money, what I thought it was at the time. So it went from there. When I was 17, 18 years old, my weed man got arrested, saw what happened there. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm out. Like, don't want to do anything. Like, you know, maybe this is it. Like, this is my sign. You know, I don't want to do anything with this. Then my partner came back to me, you know, quit for 2 months, whatever. My partner comes back to me. He's like, hey, you know, well, you know, we can't really sell weed anymore, but I met this guy.
Uh-oh.
I was like, yeah, tell me more. I guess I hadn't had enough of it yet. He was like, yeah, man, it's, you know, I mean, it's the same game and all, but it's going to be cocaine and ecstasy this time. I was like, well, you know, I don't know about that. You know, and I was like, let me go back to my friends and see what they're thinking, you know, see if I have a market for this. When I found out I did, I hopped right back in. So, 17, 18 years old, a lot of cash, what I thought was having a lot of fun. So I just couldn't pull myself away.
Wow.
And then it turned into just selling to some other dealers, and it was all cocaine and ecstasy, and really sold anything I could get my hands on that would come around. And then, 21 years old, we had a third partner, and they had a nightclub out here. It was a Hispanic nightclub. He ended up getting arrested first. He set my other co-defendant and I up, my other partner and I up. So, So that's when it all happened that night.
What was in it for him to do that?
The original, he had overstayed his visa. He was illegal. So what was in it for him was no prison time and being able to stay in the States.
Yeah, scapegoat. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Did he get away with that?
Huh?
Did he get away with that? Like, or did they eventually catch up to him?
No, he was the original one caught. So,
that's right. That's right. You said that.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, he got to stay in the States and he did not do any prison time. So.
Wow.
All right. Yeah. So you're arrested.
Yes.
Decided, yo, I'm gonna push this out. Like whatever y'all throw at me, I'm gonna take it. Right.
Yeah.
Pause. Whatever, however much time you guys choose to give me, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
The first offer was what?
They originally said 5 years.
Okay. You're like easy money.
I was like, okay, no problem.
Yeah, that ain't no problem.
Yeah.
And then
they came back, and because of everything that had been said about me, testimony from the other two, they came back and said, if you don't take this deal, you know, I was like, oh no, I wasn't any part of this, whatever. I didn't even, whatever. Of course I was lying. But they offered me, they said, well, you're going to take this 12 and a half years, or you can go to trial and you're going to get about 25. Either way, if you didn't do it.
Yeah.
I was like,
okay. And you said?
We took 12 and a half years. Because by that time I knew exactly, you know, who was testifying against me.
Yeah.
They had been with me for years. I had no shot.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing about the feds are like women. They're not going to bring you anything with no proof.
It's true.
Right?
True.
I think it's like 90% of Fed cases are played out.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to prosecute. They're not going to come get you until they can prove that here, we got here, Sav. That's what we have on you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Remember 3 o'clock you were with Terry? Got a picture of y'all to get you like, I have to, right? They don't prosecute until they have proof. So he knew at that point, like, I can lie. Or I can roll these dice and I'm gonna do 25.
Yeah.
Because I know that
you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to prison for 12 years.
Yes.
You know that. Where's your mind?
Originally?
Because 5 and 12 is 2 different numbers.
2 different numbers. Yeah.
Very. But also very different from 25.
Yeah.
At that point, I thought my life was over.
Okay.
As you said, I didn't have to do this. I was raised in the suburbs of Nashville. We weren't rich by any means, but you know, we didn't have any luxuries, but we didn't want for anything, right? Could have graduated high school, could have gone to college. Parents would have paid for college. You know, I chose to do what I did.
That's literally so many people.
Yeah.
Like you could get it. It's literally just making one wrong decision to be like, I know a guy, and or listening to somebody who says I met a guy.
Yeah.
To spiral your life in this crazy direction where you didn't have to. Because like I'm thinking back on my high school experience and like when I was 15, like I was doing all that shit.
Yeah.
I was smoking weed. Yeah. I was, you know, like I wasn't selling drugs, but like I was around, my friends did, you know, and it was so like normal. Like, and then you get into the harder stuff at like a club one night, and then you're like, oh, it's so easy
just
to
one
get.
Single decision can turn you in such a different direction.
Wild. Anyways. Yeah.
So where were we?
I was about to ask you about your first day in prison. Get in,
yeah, I'm definitely wanting
shower, you cough. You go in the gin pop, and I think the question that the majority of the people want to know is what gang did you join day one? I've
never met somebody who's been to prison for 10 years and joined a gang.
You can't roll by yourself.
Wow.
Because
I've always thought about that. Like, what prison personality would I be? It's really hard to think about.
Do you think of that often? I always thought about that. Like, who would I be in
have
prison?
you seen Orange is the New Black? Have you seen Orange is the New Black? That's why. Because after watching that show, I'm like, which one of these would I be?
Who
oh, Tasty, she beat my friend. Like,
yeah.
All of that. It's like, I don't know. I don't think about it as deeply as as you could.
Yeah.
Because so tell me about it.
So thankfully I was not put on a prison yard that was gang run. You realize very quickly it is very segregated.
Yep.
If you walk in the chow hall, it's whites on one side, blacks on the other, Hispanics all together. You don't really mix. You don't really, Now you can talk, mingle, whatever, associate, but
you can tell me if this is true, false, or it depends on where you are. But I hear like state and Fed is kind of different. State is more honestly gang run. Like you come in and you associate with Crips, Blood, whites, whatever.
Yeah.
Where Fed is more where you from and race, right? So you have like they call them cars.
Pretty much. Okay.
Call them cars.
Okay, wow. You know.
I know some people that know some people, Nate, that know some people.
Interesting.
So you have like a Tennessee car or a South car, like we're from the South. So it depends on where you are. Like, so everybody that's from like the South would click up. Like, so if something happens, everybody's from the South, we ride together.
Yeah.
Midwest, North, where it depends on where you are. Because it's Fed, so they literally can sing you anywhere. Yeah. Right? So it's not like you're going to be up the street in Tennessee. You may be in Wisconsin.
Right.
And you just got to click up with whoever you click up with. So what is that for you? Like, was that a decision? Like, yo, when I get in here, I'm just going to stick to myself?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, it wasn't really stick to yourself. Me going through the whole process of getting sentenced, I was with some guys that didn't learn their lesson the first time, so they were going back. So they kind of schooled me on the whole situation, what I should do to stay out of trouble, whatever. Which was kind of funny coming from them since they went back home and got rearrested.
Well, stay out of trouble when you get in there. Like,
that's the same as listening. It's the same as listening to a trainer who's been injured several times, but they know a lot about how injuries work.
Not to do it.
So that's what it was. I was, and another thing about me not helping the government out in my case, they sent me about as far away as they possibly could. Within reason, which was up like Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky border, way up in the mountains. So I was a good 450 miles away from home, So there was some guys from anywhere from Tennessee, West Virginia that I kind of hung around, but for some reason I got to hanging around the Italians up there. So.
Okay. They have the best food. They have their own little situation.
They had their own little situation.
Yeah.
So. But and that's kind of the way it was, It's you kind of, but like you said, you generally hang around the people that are from your state or from your region, similar crimes that you committed and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you were cool putting your paperwork on the table? You got a little paperwork party?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, listen.
No issues.
I feel like you should have gotten something extra once they saw your paperwork. Like, okay, yeah, we gonna roll with him because you could have went home and you decided, oh, you did it, snitch. Like, come on, like we gonna,
honestly, because I've heard, and I don't know anything about prison or anything, but I have heard, and it could be wrong, I don't know. But if you have like done something to a child, like you've murdered a child or something along the lines of it doesn't matter who you are. Like everybody in the prison is like that guy.
Yeah,
that's usually like when you first get there. That's what they show you your paperwork to see what you're in here for, like your court documents. So it's like, okay, this is strictly from the courts, and it says that you XYZ or that you're a snitch or that whatever you got. Because what's happening, they know how to add and subtract very well. So they're like, hey, this charge usually get
that's exactly
how you get.
Like, guys will just sit there and like quiz you, and they'll even if you're around for a while, they'll still hit you with
like just a random
stuff out here just to see if you'll slip up. And they know people.
Yeah.
People know what sentences carry.
Yeah.
Or what crimes sentences carry. And stuff
wow.
like that. So.
Do you come to learn that like the more that you're there?
Oh yeah.
Because I wouldn't have any like baseline knowledge of like how long you're away for anything.
Yeah.
Some of those criminals. Definitely. Because again, if you think about what you could do in 10 years.
A lot.
Right? Think about what you do in 5 years. So you got 10 years to be here. I'm 5 years in. How many people you've met that's come through, that things you've read.
Totally, yeah.
In that amount of time. So now you're an expert at this thing.
Well,
right?
I have a question along those lines. Like what I want to know, like I want you to take us through a day in the life of prison, but expanding on that, like is it really like you don't have anything like TV, you don't have like internet and social media, so like you can't sit there and waste your time scrolling? Like you probably learn some skills, you know, like
I don't know, Sav.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Look at me. I've never been to prison.
Thankfully, I've been released for what? Going on July, it'll be 12 years that I've been released, actually. But when I was in, there was we didn't really have, the only communication we had was snail mail. We had to write letters home. We had so many minutes a month to use on the phone. So you had 290 minutes a month to use on the phone. So you equate that to what, less than 10 minutes a day if you wanted to call home. But we didn't have anything. Right before I got released, they started implementing like an email system. But no social media, nothing like that. We did have TVs. Okay. So you could kind of stay...
Yeah, Orange is the New Black had those too.
Yeah. There was no Netflix or anything like that. So it was straight cable TV.
It's like a big box.
That's it. Yeah.
With some static.
I want you to,
sports.
Since we're talking about that, I want you to talk about, because the general like consensus is that, Fed time. He did. That's easy. That's easy time.
Yeah.
Talk about how that because clearly the federal government has more money, right? So they have better quote unquote facilities, right? Yeah. I want you to talk about, that's easy time when you tell somebody that, I went Fed, like, that's easy time.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about, like, again, stay on topic.
How
like
is any of it easy?
what that, right? That's
Who
the point, right?
That? Like,
but I think the time is, and again, you can tell me right and wrong, the time is easier because we know we're going to be here for a minute. So we want peace. It's going to take a lot for something to happen because, bro, we're going to be here for 20 years. And I'm not trying to live up like whereas like state, we're here for 1, 2, 5, may get parole, may get out. And so they're still on some wild stuff. So kind of like what he was talking about before, like, this is the way I save my life. Because if I go home that night, I'm going back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I go away, then I can get out. So they're thinking
what a devastating
year,
decision that had to be.
Yeah, a year.
It was tough.
I'm still doing the same thing in a year.
Yeah,
right.
I'm still like, especially if I get in, I know Nate. I'm gonna click up with Nate. And we're getting out. Like nothing's changed.
If I did 2 or 3 years, people are probably still in the same place that they were when I left. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy for me to fall back into exactly what I was doing. First time I fall on hard time out here, and I get frustrated. Like when I came home and tried to get a job, and
we're gonna get to that too. Yeah,
we're gonna get to first time you fall on a hard time, you're just like, okay. Screw this. Like, I know how to make money. I'm going to go back to making money. Mm-hmm. So, and then you fall right back into the same situation, same people, same neighborhood, same everything. So it's really not that.
Yeah. So full disclosure, Nate and I had this conversation as well. I have an uncle that I've never met. And everyone says that I look just like body type. Apparently he works out as well. I've never seen this guy. Every now and then, Nate. I don't know if you... Come on, make sure. Trent, where's my camera again, Trent? Where's my turn towards Trent? Let me make sure. Zoom in, Trent. Just hit the.
It's just that.
But I have an uncle on my dad's side that very similar situation, right? He's big time dope boy in Florida, and he got out, was driving trucks for a little bit, right? And then one day he made up his mind, like, yo, I can make in a week what they're paying me in a month. And so he went back to it. And so, of course, he got caught again, and that's why I've never seen or met him. And so he's literally been in prison my whole life. Maybe out now, I don't know. I don't have any contact with him. But so we were talking just about like that part of it. I want to get to when you get out, but I also want to pause because something that's very important. Another thing that we connected on was our moms.
Yeah.
Nate lost his mom as well, and so when I knew my mom was really sick, I actually went to Nate and was like, "Yo, what is it like losing your mom?" Yeah. Right, just on some advice, right? Like, cause I knew that moment, I knew that day.
How long have you guys known each other?
3 years. I've only been at Next Level for 3 years, so 3 years, right? And so again, my mom has been gone for 2 years now, so we're still in year 1 of me knowing him, but he was one of the people that I knew that had lost a parent. Mm-hmm. And so I went to him and I was like, yo, bro, just like, he knew my mom was sick. And so I was like, what is it like just losing like your parent, like losing your mom? And he was like, it's ups, downs, bro. But I say that to say, you and your mom had a very real conversation. You were talking about like first, it would have been like 2-3 years, you probably would have went right back to the same thing. Yeah. Those first couple of years was rough. Nobody does time alone, right? You got 12 years, but so did your mom, so did your brother, so did your dad, so did your niece. Yeah. Because you got out, you had a niece that was, like everybody's doing that time with you. Although you're in there by yourself, a mom doesn't get to hug her son. She doesn't get to call her son. She doesn't get to have dinner with her son. She gets, 10 minutes for a visit or an hour for a visit. And, we got to sit with our hands on the table or whatever that looks like.
So anybody that says spend time was easy.
Right. You have
to be away from your loved ones.
From your loved ones. And your loved ones have to be away from you, right? Yeah. There's nothing like a parent being like out of reach. That was the only thing I remember my mother telling me like growing up. There's only one place in this world that I can't get to you. Yeah. And that's if you decide to go to jail. There's nothing that I can do. There's literally nothing that I can do for you. So if you keep wanting to be stupid, then that's the only place that I can't get to you. Yeah. Talk about that conversation that you had with your mom and how that kind of changed even your approach. We don't have to get into your wild years while you were in there. We can just get to this part.
Yeah, I'll give a quick overview. My first 2 or 3 years that I was in there, I didn't accept responsibility for what I did. Of course, I still hated the two guys that set me up and kind of put me in the position.
Naturally.
Put me in the position that I did. So I was still drinking. I was fighting. I was getting high in there. And people were like, oh, well, you can drink and get high in prison? I'm like,
you do whatever you want to.
You got
I also watch reality TV.
Convicted felons within a really confined
Somebody
space.
Gonna figure out something.
Believe me, we can figure anything out. But I was just consumed with this whole, like I said, I didn't take responsibility, just consumed with hate. So I was still just acting up. I haven't grown up one bit, even though all of this has happened to me. So at this point in time, I'd been in solitary confinement a couple times. I think this was my 3rd time in solitary confinement at the time within my first 3 years. And at that point, I could only talk to someone for 15 minutes every 30 days. So I had one phone call every 30 days. Other than that, I was pretty much locked in a cell.
That's like damaging.
I might get 45 minutes in a little, rec yard the size of 10 by 10 where I might see sun, I might not. Maybe 3 times a week, something like that. So anyways, I'm on the phone with my parents at that time because that's who I chose to call. Obviously, because
smart.
Yeah.
That's who I'd be calling.
Yeah. And in the conversation, my dad was having a rough time talking to me regardless. Kind of hit him hard. And, he was just like, you should concentrate on trying to do something at least positive every day. Just no matter how small it is, no matter how big it is, whatever. So I got done talking to him. I was like, yeah, let me talk to Mom. So I'm talking to my mother there. And, she was emotional. She was teared up. I could tell she was teared up. And, she came to the point where she knew the phone call was fairly close to ending. So she didn't want to leave it on that. But she told me, she was like, I'm going to be here for you the rest of this time that you're going to be here. She was like, if you come home and you get in trouble again, I'm out. I can't do it. She was like, I'm dying inside. Like, this is killing me, seeing you do this. And like I said, I didn't have to do it. I was smart. I had a lot of tools to be successful, whatever I did.
You were young.
Yeah, and I was young. But yeah, that was her impression on me for that phone call was just like, we got 7 or 8 more years of this, and if you call, I'm going to pick up the phone. Anything you need, I'll do my best to do it for you. I'll be your emotional support while you're in there. But like you come home and you get in trouble again, we're done. Like I just can't do it because it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So I had to sit on that for another 30 days.
That's so hard.
Which absolutely shows.
But that's was that the pivoting point?
That one broke something in me right there. And that was the pivoting point.
Cry. Wow.
After I got out of solitary confinement that time, I did not get in trouble a single time, knock on wood again, till this day. So that was 20 years ago.
That's the power of love.
Yeah, I think
love is the most powerful force.
There was a conversation 20 years ago that made me never get in trouble.
Yeah, and I literally was like, that's a mother's love because it's tough and it's unconditional, but with conditions, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, yo, I'm gonna ride with you. Like, I know you were young, you messed up. Like, I get it, but now, like, you're not young anymore, and you know exactly what the consequences of your act. So you're choosing this.
Yeah, you're
choosing this, and I'm not. Like, I'm not choosing that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I can only imagine how tough it was for her to say those words to you.
Oh, yeah. She was probably thinking them for years.
Yeah, before it ever came out.
Finally.
And she just like, I got to say it. I want to pause there because, again, you know, I could talk about, you know, moms for forever. But one of my biggest regrets, and you know, everyone's like, something that you can't regret, but it's going to make sense. One of my biggest regrets is not my mother not being here to see who I become.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I know, like, the future has big things for me. And I've always had, like, a heart to take care of my mom. And I always kind of regret that she won't see the finished product. Right. Because, you know, I was a knucklehead too, not to that extent. But, you know, again, a mother's love. Right. So I want to see that, yo, your investment's paid off. Do you ever think about that? Like, now that, like you said, it's been 20 years, like, you're successful, you're a successful trainer, you're doing some great things, you're taking care of financially. Do you ever think about, yo, I just wish, like, she could be here to see this version of me, right? To know, like I'm all right. Like,
yeah, all the time. Like we said, you know, I mean, it's not a day thing anymore after mom passes. I'll bet, you know, I mean, there's a lot of times where I'm like, wow, I wish I could just call her.
Yeah. Something, it's a small thing.
Yeah. Or hear her voice, whatever. But yeah, to that point, I'm happy that she got to see me come out of all that, be a changed man. She did get to see me start my own business and my career as a personal trainer and coach and everything. So I'm very happy that she got to see that. But yeah, I mean, it's. Do I wish she was still here that she could see how I've even progressed from that point? Of course.
I got a book for y'all.
Yeah.
I do, because I've lost my brother, which is not the same type of loss, but you guys have me thinking so much about my mom right now. And, like, you know, she lost a son.
Yeah.
And it's different, but there's a book that a friend of mine gave me called Signs.
Equally as heavy.
Yeah. Sure. Everybody's got their heavy, right?
Yeah.
But the book Signs I read, my friend Carly, she's also a coach. She also lost her brother.
Yeah.
And she gave it to me, saying, I, like, for years struggled with, you know, my brother's death. And, like, because I had said something when I finally posted something on Instagram about it, that I was afraid of forgetting him. And that's why she brought me this book. And she said, I want you to have this, because I, for years, felt that way. Like, I was just so terrified of forgetting him, and it, like, ate me alive.
Yeah.
And then I read this book, and it really has helped me feel more connected to him.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and it's not about like, I know that you believe in God. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about that. And I do think, whether it's God or Buddha or, you know, whatever it is, there's something beyond us that you can't deny. And people can argue with me about that all day, but I'm going to stand my ground on that. And this book is not, like, labeling it God or anything like that. It's really just about, like, seeing things in it. So I say all that to say, read this book and know that your moms are absolutely with you, Gerell. Like, your mom is seeing everything that you are doing, and she will continue to see everything that you are doing. She's with you, walking you through this. And there are ways to connect with her, and you can read this book, but you'll find those ways, I'm sure, naturally. And I'm telling you, like, but it's they're with you.
Yeah.
They are. And it shows in what you are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. All right, that's enough of the sentimental, because y'all not gonna get me to cry on
it's my mission.
That's the one still open scab that I can get.
Almost got him there.
I have to get, like, Terry, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick.
I got some stand in my eyes.
So, Nate's a personal trainer now, but that wasn't the original goal. So we have this conversation with mom.
Yeah.
Nate gets his stuff together while he's in prison, and you get your welder's. Is it license, welder's degree? What is it? Certification.
I went through the Department of Labor, got my journeyman welder. Through the Department of Labor.
Nate wasn't supposed to be a personal trainer.
I was coming home to do construction because I knew that the construction field was the one industry that nobody cared about your criminal history. Like, I mean, they're like, you're gonna work 40, 60 hours. Let's go. Here. So Nate don't care.
Nate did literally everything he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Got his welder certification. I want to make sure welder certification. Gets out, gets a good paying job, and then what happens?
The halfway house. So I get released, and I have to, because I was arrested so young, and I'd been gone so long. They released me on a condition of, they released me 9 months early on a condition of, okay, you go stay at a halfway house. So kind of like a work release program. Get on your feet, whatever. So I get released into a halfway house here in downtown Nashville. I'm going to go to work as being a welder. A lot of construction in Nashville, and just a lot of construction in the area. So I get hired on by a company. They're like, pay was going to be incredible. They wanted to send me to Jackson, Tennessee to go pretty much tear out a factory, like tear out all the piping in a factory and redo all the pipes, everything like that. And the halfway house told me, even though they were going to profit off this quite a bit, they're like, nah, we have to have you back here every night. So you can't go take this job. So I was like, wow, I didn't even know what to do after that. I was like, what am I supposed to, I thought I did everything I was supposed to do past that point. I had a job in prison, got all my hours in, behaved myself, and I get out, and they're like, oh, yeah, you can't do it. So
this is the point where most people break.
Yeah.
Right? This is the point where most people say, you know what? F it. I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I even got a job, and y'all still won't allow me to go in and do what I need to do. But you know what?
Yeah.
Bet I'm out. I know somebody that will.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the system does that to people
1000%.
quite often.
Yeah, they have a bed for you. They'll always have a bed for you if you want to go back.
That's
so at that moment, what made you not make that decision? What made you say, you know what? All right, I'll figure out another way. Versus the way that I already know.
Because I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, but I knew what I didn't want to do. There was nothing stronger than me never wanting to do another day in prison again. So I was just like, you know what? We're going to figure something else out.
Yeah.
I went to work in a restaurant as a busser, making $5.75 an hour instead of making 60 plus.
Yeah.
I could have came out and probably made $125, $150 to start my first year out. And I went to work going $5.75 plus a handful of tips here and there. So
what a welcome back to society.
Yeah. So it was a wake up call, but like I said, I knew what I did not want to do.
Yeah.
Was I crazy about welding? No. You know me.
But,
I don't like the outdoors.
But you're crazy about 150,000.
Yeah.
We'll figure the rest out, right?
Yeah.
Stack a little bit and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Again, some more pivots happen, right? Yeah. You're about to get off of paperwork, right? Because you come home with some conditions, still on parole.
Yeah.
At your parole hearing, something happened. What happened?
So, and it's amazing that this man had this great of a memory. So I'd petitioned to get my supervised release. I had 8 years of supervised release behind my prison sentence. I petitioned to get all my supervised release thrown out. My prosecutor refused.
10 years my original later, 12 years later, 10 years later, 10 years later,
11,
the original prosecutor comes back and says, shows up to this.
Yeah. Says, no, I don't want his supervised release thrown out.
Now, Nate has done all his time.
Why? What is your problem? What's up
he
his
didn't take the dip.
Right, yeah. Still after all these years.
He still has a stick up his...
Yeah.
That many years later, this man has issues.
Yeah.
Far beyond the ones you've had. Jesus. So this man needs a life.
To the judge's credit, and I had the same judge. I went in front of the same judge to get my supervised release thrown out that I did to get sentenced. And at the time I got sentenced, she did not want to give me the sentence that I did. She thought it was extremely harsh for someone that really had not been in any serious trouble, and that was my age. But to her point in open court, she said, my hands are tied. If I go below the bottom of this guideline, prosecution is going to come back and appeal, and you may end up getting a lot more time. So she had to sentence me there. So anyways, we go back to throw out. We go back to court to throw out my supervised release, sitting in front of the same judge, sitting in front of the same prosecutor. And I didn't know what to expect out of the judge at this point. I'm just like, I'm expecting the worst, obviously, because that's just what happened. That's just
you had
happens.
A pretty
And the judge came back and she said, you know what? If you can go pass a drug test, I'll throw everything out. So I went back, peed in the cup, got all my paper thrown out.
All right. Thank God.
There's a winner on it. We came out a winner on that one.
Needed that one. I needed to hear that.
I need you to
like I'm like clenching my butt cheeks, like, oh, please tell me something good happens soon. Like,
something good does.
Oh God.
A lot.
You've been through hell, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's just to say you have to persevere. I mean, there are bad things, and what I did to myself for the most part. But you just have to persevere through hard times.
It's
you have to keep on rolling. You can keep on getting kicked, but if you don't stand back up, you're never going to win a fight. So,
homie, that is the advice of the century, because this is your story is a very intense version of what happens to people all the time. All the time there's a perfect, not perfect, but there's an element of you are taking responsibility, right? Like, that you put yourself in this situation, but then there was unfairness also along the way. And that's not something that you have to necessarily be like, oh, that person, it's not their fault. They didn't do anything wrong. I'm just going to be nice to everyone and take all the blame. No, things happen to you that people, effed you over.
Yeah.
And so it's important to that attitude coming out of that and being like, you know what, you just have to persevere. You just have to keep going and know that if you stop, you're going to stop, but you keep pushing and there will be some give at some point, and that's going to happen the rest of your life. There's going to be things that you are pushing on and trying to get to give, and then that thing gives and something else falls on top of you, so it's that's the advice of the century, because it is going to be unfair. People are going to do something that is completely not right. And you are going to want to be blame you. I want to expose you for all of the things. I want you to go to jail because you did this. I want the world to know how messed up of a person you are, that you did that to me. But you can't.
No.
Because what is that really going to do?
It doesn't solve anything.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you also have to take responsibility, but not go, I'm a terrible piece of crap that doesn't deserve anything.
Yeah.
Because that's also not going to help either.
Yeah.
You have to take responsibility, accept that people have wronged you, and then push through.
Yeah.
Move forward.
Figure out how
And
to
that sounds
react
clearly that's what you've done.
Yeah. So Nate he's gone from being a potential welder to busting tables for $5 to a very successful personal trainer who's actually, crazy story, plot twist here. One of his clients is a DEA agent, former DEA agent.
Wow, right? Cool.
Which is crazy. We won't say her names. I don't know what kind of wild stuff she's done or not done. But I'm curious to know, kind of a two-part question.
Yeah.
How has that experience helped you in your training business?
Great question.
And then also, what things have you taken, even routine wise, that you still do from those? I know one of them, but from those 12 years that you did.
Also, can I get a prison workout in sometime?
We won't do those anymore. I try to get him to do it all the time. Hey, bro, let's say he's like, nah, I'm gonna lift weights. I got weights. Why would I do that?
Go throw a deck of cards.
Hey, bro, let's go through
That's
this.
literally, Gerell said he did that while we were in Gatlinburg for the Special Olympics. I was like, I did XYZ, and he's like, oh, I just did this, a prison workout.
Prison workout, yeah.
It is not easy either.
No.
To go through a full deck of cards. Let's see, how has it helped me? You know what? The weird thing is, and the wild thing is, I thought when I got released, I figured that everybody was just going to know. I had convict written across my forehead. And that, two, everybody was going to judge me for it. Yeah. So it's weird, but everybody I've told my story to and that has gotten to know me as a person first had a similar reaction to you. They're like, nah. Like 10 days, 10 months? Yeah. No, 10 years. So that's kind of, it helped me to not judge people, just being in that experience. It gave me just a sense of routine and discipline, and fitness did this for me in general. In there, starting to work out, it gave me this outlet and this routine that focused my energy on something good, right? Whether I was mad at something or upset at something, I can go lift some weights. I can go into my workout routine, and that kind of takes my aggression out, right? If I can't think clearly, I can get a workout in, no matter if it's with weights or anything like that. I can get a workout in, and it just kind of clears my head, and it gives me focus afterwards. So that's kind of helped me. I work very, very lucky to work with some very successful professionals, executives, lawyers, all across the board. And these people actually ask me for advice. And it's not only workout advice, it's just kind of how do we simplify life, right? It's how do you make your life a little more simple? Obviously, my life was very simple on one level in there. I didn't have much of anything. I lived without anything for the most part. So it's kind of helped me focus on how do I help these men and women who have very complicated lives and very complicated professional lives make their lives, dumb their lives down so that they don't have to think about this stuff, so they can build muscle, lose fat, clear their heads, and just use these very simple tools to make them even more successful, hopefully, than they already are.
I think that's really important to point out the fact that these are very successful people that you work with who are looking to simplify their lives. Yeah. That's huge, because I'm running around like knowing that I complicate my life most of the time. You know, like finding things to do that you don't really need to do, that aren't really pushing you, toward where you need to be. Yeah. And I think we all like want that, but we are afraid to admit it, until then you get it. You get success. And then you're like, okay, it's still so complicated. How do I breathe for a second?
Before you get to the second part of that question, we're going to take a quick break. Baby, we're back.
So
we were answering that question.
Some things that I still do.
Other than, like, I know you still wake up super early just to kind of have that me time. Yeah. Like, even earlier than what you have to be at the gym. Mm-hmm. What else? Like, do you still need when you pee? Do you sit with what?
No.
What else do you do?
You know what? I think I've probably put a lot of that stuff away. It's shockingly, for what it was in my life. But I think the biggest thing was, just getting up at super early in the morning so I can just have quiet. I don't have my phone on. I don't have TV on. I don't have anything on. I just need some peace and quiet.
How early is super early?
I wake up at 4 a.m. every day. Okay. So it's not
okay. No.
There are earlier wakers than I am, but this guy.
I was going to say, not every morning, but 3 a.m. sometimes. Yeah. Just depending on my day. Yeah. But it's so nice.
Monday through Friday, just a little dark, a little clarity.
But in prison, I imagine it's because everybody's asleep, and it's the only time like people aren't yelling things.
The lights are still off. No noise. No nothing. Mm-hmm.
So. I want to because we're gonna get ready to wrap here in a second, but just in case someone's listening, still another 2-part question. What is some tips on how you feel you did not become institutionalized, and part B, what would be some tips for people that are re-entering society that you would give, whether that's, starting your own business or, how to overcome different things or whatever that looks like. For people who aren't
just re-entering society too, like just people who feel maybe lost or maybe like they don't know where to go, I don't know. Can apply to a lot.
Yeah, I think for anybody that feels lost or is re-entering, I think most importantly is to develop a routine, whatever that is, whether that's has to do with work, whether that has to do with
That's the advice that I've heard even like going into prison.
Yeah.
Like, hey, when you go there, like don't let the time do you. You do the time. Like so treat like you would treat a day outside. You wake up, you read, you go work, like have a routine. Yeah. So your day isn't just you're sitting there staring at the clock all day.
Try to continue to learn and educate yourself. Like I said, I'm not college educated. Even dropped out of high school. I
went to a music college, so
okay,
you're good.
No, not a music college. She went to Berkeley. I went to a music. Like she went to like.
Where is that going to serve me in my life?
But like,
I learned some notes.
Berkeley is just like that's Juilliard. That's like
I partied a lot.
There's so many great things out here to educate yourself. Whether that's learning a trade, like I did, and like I thought that I was going to go into. Or just educating yourself in any kind of way to start your own business, because that is generally the way that we can be most successful, and gives you a lot of freedom. And Gerell can tell you this. Anybody can tell you this that has started their own business. It consumes so much of your time. Mm-hmm. You don't have time to get into it. You don't have time to do anything else if you're going to be successful in it.
And I always say, like, especially like ex-drug dealers make the best business people, because that's literally what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You are.
Like it's networking
people.
At its finest.
Working with people.
It's working with people. It's having a product and selling it. You know, Jay-Z has a line, you know, I sold kilos of coke. I'm guessing I can sell CDs. Yeah. Right? Like it's like, yo, if I can sell this,
it translates.
I know I can sell this, really right? Does. And so it's understanding, like you said, like one of the great things that I like about you, and I think something that's very similar with me and why we kind of vibe, is that we can talk to anybody, right? Whoever it is, we can talk. We have a conversation with them, and it's always met with respect, right? Yeah. Like we can have varying different opinions on topics, but as long as it's a respectful conversation, I respect your opinion. Yeah, like that's how you feel about that. That's fine. I mean, I feel the same, but we can have like we've had open conversations in the gym where it's just like, you know, like,
and I'll try to even see where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's like, you know,
still may not agree with
it, but you know, or there's like stereotypes,
that's
like,
called
or
being
just
an
whatever.
Adult, if you ask me.
Yeah.
A lot of people
I don't think everybody is as open-minded or used to, you know, not being around. Like, so I'm the only black person in the gym, so people sometimes like handle me differently because it's like I don't want to offend him, or I don't want to be around him either. You know what I mean? Because I'm loud, aggressive. Like I train, like, so all the stereotypes that if you're not around black people, then I'm probably perpetuating that in the gym. Like I'm loud, I'm aggressive, I curse. So they're like, you know, if you're not used to that world, then it, you know, it can come across.
Then you're probably not having fun. Right?
It can come across
like
different.
Loud, having fun. That, these all sound like things that you should probably have in your life.
That's one of the reasons why, like, again, Nate and I can have those conversations. Because even his clients, like our clients have become like one big family. Like they kind of just mess with each other.
Like in group
conversations. Yeah, like we're getting
like we're working in the same area.
Yeah, it'll be, you know, 6 a.m. There's 12 people right here like having this debate on, you know, whatever.
I love that.
but yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted you. But while we're interrupted, we'll go ahead and go to Shift Our Intellect. All right. Brought to us by Shifted Supplements. Now, I'm gonna lie to you, I haven't tried the pre-workout because I'm not a really big pre-workout person, but their recovery drink.
Okay,
I like
like
it.
10 grams of protein. Yeah. And it is delicious.
Yeah.
I like it too because I'm not a big pre-workout person either, but like the ingredients are better, and it's also like it doesn't like make me feel as crazy. That's why I don't like pre-workout. Like, I feel like I not sure if I want to rip a car in half or run away.
See? I might have to shift and give it a try.
I mean, you might have to, man. Yeah, it's you know, I miss that feeling. I just can't sleep when I take pre-workout. Like I'm wired, and I know like 3:45 comes early. So if I'm not sleeping.
It's funny how there's like two types of people with pre-workout. Like some people love that feeling of feeling like I'm so on edge, I don't know what to do with it. Yeah. Like
I
other
love
people
that
are like,
feeling,
I hate
but
that.
I also know like I need to go to bed. I want to sleep. Like all right, this is like just random facts.
Okay.
It's not a debate. I mean, we can debate it, but it's just like a shift your intellect. We want to give you a tip to shift your intellect, people.
It's gonna expand your mind.
You want to go first, Sav? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. All right. Spring almost always arrives on March 20th or 21st, but sometimes on the 19th. The reason the equinoxes and solstices don't always come on the same day is that Earth doesn't circle the sun in exactly 365 days. I actually didn't know that.
There you go.
Leap day.
You've been shifted.
Leap day. That checks out. Wow. Yeah. I didn't. Wow. See, I went to music school. Went to music school.
You did go to music school, didn't you? She was like, oh, that makes sense now when you say it like that. Nate has read a lot of books in his time.
I need some Neil deGrasse Tyson in my life.
I have read a lot of books. Yeah, it's true.
All right, we're going to stick with spring. The first spring flowers are typically lilacs, irises, lilies, tulips, daffodils, and dandelions.
Wow.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, now go buy all of those and bring them home to your wife.
There, Tennessee's state flower is the iris there.
Is it?
There we go.
I had no.
We're also apparently the volunteer state.
Do you know why? Do you know why?
Why?
Because of the war.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's over a long time ago.
Thank God, right? Jeez. Like, we made it through that one, guys. Like,
yeah, we don't have that kind of volunteering going on. Like,
woo!
We're not really living up to
Finally
that
name. That one.
I think that's over.
Before you get out of here, man, we always like to let our guests leave us with one thing that you want to be remembered by, one thing you want to leave our guests with. It can be a fitness tip, it can be a tip on life, it can be, if you're in a high-speed chase, don't get caught. It can, here's the best route. 65 is bad for high-speed chases, whatever it is. Like
it is. I
don't know. I think 65 is pretty open.
Bad for being anyone.
Well, the 24-40 split going through downtown Nashville
depends where.
For high-speed chase.
That's the worst. Yeah, because 65. 65 is a straightaway. You just got to get to the next state.
But you're also like you'll cross into Franklin where cops are just like sitting there.
That's
like,
true.
Where is everyone? I have nothing to do.
But you're on a high-speed chase, so you got a head start because you're already at 100. They got to get to 100. That's how I look at it.
True.
But if you get caught, you don't want to get caught down there.
Yeah, no.
Like if you get in Pulaski. Sheesh. If they call ahead and like, hey, that's where you get caught, man, you are in trouble.
Oh, no.
Man, I pray to God every time I drive home, like, whatever happens, don't let it happen in Pulaski.
Depending on the county, I can outrun the cop. I hop out the car and it's like,
true.
Come catch me.
You probably got better endurance.
I got speed.
Better endurance.
We're gonna get to that, but this I thought it was just me, but literally whenever I see like a security guard or a police, I'm like, nah, bro, you don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance, bro.
I worked security.
I literally size him up like,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong though. I worked security. I was a security guard.
Really?
Oh yeah. I know. That's what I'm telling you. It's at the Grand Ole Opry.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I've never.
I was the youngest person.
I would imagine. Yeah. Like everybody, was like, yeah, bro. You don't.
Oh no. Yeah. No, thank goodness it was the Grand Ole Opry.
Guys. I promise I'm not like this in real life. This is strictly my on-air personality.
Okay.
Yeah, is a hypocrite.
Nate, one thing you want to leave our people with.
I would say it's consistency and perseverance over everything. Like Sav said, and I've echoed it, and I've told some of my younger friends this, and they, it's, when's life going to get a little bit easier? I'm like,
bro.
I hate to break this to you. I hate to break this to you. I don't want to be a downer here, but it never gets easier, I don't think. But you just got to, there are going to be bad times in your life. There are going to be great times in your life. But it's how you react to the tough times and the things that happen to you outside of your control or in your control. It's how you react to those things that will make you a better and stronger person and hopefully help whoever impact somebody else's life in a better way. It's just consistency and perseverance. So
yeah, I love that. I had a coach that said 10% of life is what happens to you. 90% is how you respond to it.
And so we'll 100% right.
Yeah, we'll leave you with that. Until next time, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I am your boy, D. Gerell Webb. This is.
Hey, I'm Sav, and thank you so much for being on today, Nate. It was really empowering hearing your story.
Thank you all for having me.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
We'll see you next time.